So imagine for a second that you are an archaeologist,
Okay.
but like not digging in the dirt for Roman coins or whatever. You're an archaeologist 1,000 years from now,
Right.
and your entire job is to figure out what life was actually like for people back in the early 21st century.
Oh, that's a tough job.
Yeah, right? And, I mean, you could look at the official history book, sure, or, scroll through whatever pristine, highly curated digital museum exhibits survive.
Which are mostly just PR anyway.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really want to know how people felt, how they actually processed the crazy world they were living in, you wouldn't look there at all.
No, you'd want something totally unpolished.
Right. You would want something like a faded Polaroid shipped in the back of a thrift store drawer, or maybe a crumpled up grocery list with doodles in the margins.
Because the official record is almost always a performance.
Yeah.
It's curated to tell a very specific story. It's those mundane, everyday artifacts that accidentally capture the real, unvarnished pulse of a society. They show us what people were worrying about when they thought nobody important was watching.
And that concept brings us right to the source material we have for you today on this deep dive.
It's a fun one.
It really is. On the surface, what we are looking at is essentially an audio version of that crumpled up grocery list. It's a highly eclectic, deeply comedic, local radio broadcast from early August 2026.
Called Past Week - Next Week.
Yes, broadcasting out of Independence, Missouri.
And it really operates as a perfect, unintentional time capsule. The premise is just 4 friends.
Yeah, they call themselves Chris, Paul, Boogie, and The Texter.
Right, and they're just sitting around a studio, bantering about their week. It's incredibly unstructured.
Very.
They actually put a disclaimer at the top of the hour, actively warning listeners that the show contains absolutely nothing inspirational, deep, or culturally significant.
Which is so funny because they are completely wrong about their own show.
Totally wrong.
Because our mission today is to sift through that exact banter. If you listen closely to the way these 4 guys joke around, they accidentally provided a dense, fascinating roadmap for how everyday people were surviving an era of just complete sensory and cultural overload.
Yeah, it's wild.
We're going to extract the most important insights from this broadcast to reveal how normal people were processing the absolute spectacle of modern politics, the shifting landscape of blockbuster pop culture, and the deeply cynical state of modern advertising.
It serves as a brilliant microcosm of 2026. You get to hear the exhaustion, the humor, and the coping mechanisms all in real time.
So let's jump right into the deep end with the political segment of their show. Because the national landscape these guys are recapping is genuinely surreal.
That's putting it mildly.
Seriously. So to set the stage, they spent a good chunk of time reacting to a story about former President Trump allegedly giving out Senator Lindsey Graham's personal cell phone number.
Which is already crazy?
Right, but the context is what makes it wild. He was allegedly doing this while actively delivering a eulogy at Graham's funeral.
It's an astonishing image to try and process, you know?
Yeah, I mean, reading a phone number over a casket.
A funeral is traditionally the ultimate space of reverence and reflection. To utilize that specific platform for petty political theater signals a complete collapse of traditional civic boundaries.
And the bizarre updates don't stop there. They move on to discussing President Biden.
Who their radio hosts casually refer to as Lil Biden, which is hilarious.
Yes, Lil Biden. So they talk about him calling out conservative politicians like Senator Josh Hawley during an interview.
But he's not debating tax policy.
No, he's coyly referencing alleged hacks of these senators' Grindr accounts.
Just casually on air.
Right. And right after that, they talk about Dr. Fauci pleading the Fifth Amendment before a Senate committee over a subpoenaed personal diary.
Oh, this part was amazing.
And what was the great, heavily guarded secret in this diary? It apparently just contained his mundane fanboy excitement about meeting the comedic actor Dom DeLuise decades ago.
Just absolute peak absurdity. And just to be entirely clear with you listening right now, we are not here to take a stance on whether these politicians, left-wing or right-wing, were in the right or the wrong in these scenarios.
Exactly.
We aren't endorsing any of the viewpoints expressed by the radio hosts. We are simply analyzing the cultural reaction as it was recorded in this broadcast, looking at how the public was responding to these events as they happen.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the national political scene described in this broadcast has essentially morphed into a reality TV reunion special.
It really has.
The manufactured drama, the insults at a funeral, the coy references to dating apps, it completely overshadows any conversation about actual governance.
Nobody is talking about bills or laws.
No. It makes me wonder, reading through their reactions, is this constant performative spectacle completely desensitizing the public? Or is it just exposing a deep-seated tribalism that was always baked into the system?
What's fascinating here is how the radio hosts inadvertently answer that question through their own political analysis.
Oh, how so?
Well, they note a specific cultural observation from that summer, that a steadfast political base, and they specifically reference a 35% baseline of unwavering support for Trump,
Okay.
is driven almost entirely by ideology and cultural division rather than tangible policy.
Oh, that makes sense.
The voters tuning into the spectacle aren't looking for legislation. They are looking for their designated team to win the cultural fight. It functions much more like sports fandom than civic duty.
Yeah, like cheering for a football team.
Exactly. When you are a fan of a sports team, you don't abandon them because the coach runs a bad play, right? You stick around because your identity is tied to the jersey.
That makes total sense. It's all about the drama of the rivalry.
Uh-huh.
If you're treating politics like reality TV or professional wrestling, you want the chair-smashing moments. You want the drama at the funeral.
But the crucial pivot in the broadcast is that these four hosts are profoundly exhausted by it.
They are so tired.
They don't find it entertaining anymore. They find it draining. So they spend a significant portion of their political segment ignoring Washington, D.C. entirely and praising local politicians instead.
Yeah, they highlight their local Jackson County executive, Phil LaVota, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
And the hosts specifically coined the term get S-word done Democrats for them, obviously using the actual swear word.
Which is such a descriptive, visceral label.
It really is. It encapsulates a growing public hunger for pragmatic, boring, functional local governance.
Bring back boring politics.
Exactly. As an antidote to the performative circus of national politics, people were experiencing a sort of neurological relief in politicians who just focused on infrastructure.
They didn't want culture wars.
No, they wanted someone to fix the physical roads, manage the budget, and solve actual physical problems in their immediate environment.
And you know, that same craving for something you can actually touch, that intense rejection of the purely performative, it didn't stop at the ballot box.
It definitely bled into entertainment.
Right into what people were paying to watch at the movie theaters. Audiences were suddenly rejecting the artificially flawless and intensely craving the physically real.
We see that dynamic play out beautifully in their extensive review of Christopher Nolan's blockbuster film, The Odyssey.
Oh man, the behind-the-scenes details the hosts share about this movie are wild. So this is Nolan's 2026 epic adaptation of the Greek myth.
Starring Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, and Charlize Theron.
Yep. And Nolan, being Nolan, famously despises relying on CGI.
He hates it.
He does. So to film these epic encounters with mythical giants, he didn't use green screens. He relied heavily on forced perspective and practical effects.
The mechanics of how he achieved this are fascinating. They talk about how Nolan cast actual 7-foot-tall actors to play the giants.
Real guys.
Real guys. Then he would place them very close to the camera lens while placing Matt Damon and the human crew 20 or 30 feet in the background.
That is so old school.
Very old school. By utilizing specific lenses and aligning the floor and the sightlines perfectly, the camera compresses the distance, creating this massive scale difference purely in camera. So the actors are sharing the same physical environment, bouncing real light off their real costumes.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though.
Okay, lay it on me.
I actually want to push back on this Nolan worship just a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because refusing to use CGI in a 2026 movie about a literal Greek myth featuring sea monsters and vengeful gods,
Yeah.
to me, that feels like a modern chef refusing to use electricity to cook a meal.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Like, yes, building a wood fire from scratch behind a restaurant is incredibly impressive, and the food might taste great, but is it strictly necessary when you have a state-of-the-art induction stove inside?
Right.
Why are audiences and filmmakers retreating to ancient myths and painstakingly difficult physical effects in an era where digital technology can render literally anything perfectly?
Well, that chef in the fire analogy gets right to the heart of it. And the reason the chef builds the fire and the reason Nolan builds the physical sets is all about sensory reality.
Okay.
In the broadcast, the hosts actually get into this surprisingly deep philosophical debate about the nature of the gods in the Odyssey.
Which was so unexpected for this show.
Very unexpected. They argue over whether, in the reality of the movie, Zeus and Poseidon are actual physical entities living on a mountain, or if they are just metaphors for natural human consequences.
Like when Poseidon punishes Odysseus for his hubris after blinding the Cyclops.
Right.
Did a literal sea god curse his ship? Or is that just the natural chaotic consequence of making arrogant choices while navigating a dangerous ocean?
Exactly the debate they were having. And that highlights what audiences were truly craving. As the world outside the movie theater, like the political landscape we just talked about, and the increasingly algorithmic digital world became more virtual, artificial, and untrustworthy, audiences wanted stories that grounded them in tangible human truths.
Yeah, something real.
Because the brain processes a physical object differently than a digital rendering. Even if we don't know the technical term for forced perspective, our eyes can tell when real light is hitting a real physical object.
You can just feel it.
Audiences wanted physical realities on screen because physical reality was becoming scarce in their daily lives.
You see that craving for authenticity all over their pop culture updates? It wasn't just Nolan.
No, it was a whole trend.
They spend time hyping up the on-screen chemistry between Tom Holland and John Bernthal in the new Spider-Man movie. They aren't talking about the CGI explosions. They are talking about the raw human connection between the actors.
Yeah, the acting.
They mention Ryan Gosling being cast as Ghost Rider for 2028. And they even bring up Ozzy Osbourne, which was surprisingly moving.
It was a very poignant segment. They discuss Ozzy's final concert where he performed seated on a throne, backed by members of Metallica and Guns N' Roses, exactly 1 year before he passed away.
And the hosts focus heavily on the fact that it wasn't about perfect vocals.
Not at all.
It wasn't some polished, AI-enhanced digital performance meant to make him look 25 again.
Yeah.
It was about the raw, unfiltered, even decaying reality of a legendary artist at the end of his life, giving everything he had left.
There is a deep vulnerability there that you simply cannot algorithmically generate.
Which brings us to the most jarring contrast in this entire broadcast.
Oh, the commercials.
Yeah. If the filmmakers, the musicians, and the audiences are trying desperately to find authenticity, the corporate world during the commercial breaks is failing spectacularly at faking it.
The commercial reviews segment of this radio show might be the most revealing part of the entire time capsule.
I love this part. The hosts basically rip apart modern advertising, rating them on a scale from 1 to 10.
Mostly giving out ones and zeros.
Mostly zeros. And it paints a rather dystopian picture of the culture. It feels like modern advertising is just the culture's subconscious leaking out for everyone to see.
It serves as a brilliant diagnostic tool, honestly, because these commercials reveal exactly what multi-billion-dollar corporations calculated the public wanted to hear, juxtaposed immediately against how the public was actually reacting.
Let's run through the specific ones they highlight, because the mechanics of why these fail are so interesting. First, you have a McDonald's ad for the McChicken.
Oh, this is rough.
It features a TikTok influencer who is basically just monetizing her annoying catchphrase where she repeats the word McChick over and over.
The hosts find it excruciating, like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah. Then there's this wildly tone-deaf pharmaceutical ad for an HIV PrEP medication.
This one was baffling.
It features the singer T-Boz from the 90s group TLC, and the commercial actually uses the TLC song Creep, specifically leaning on the lyric about keeping it on the down low.
The cognitive dissonance there is staggering.
It makes no sense.
One of the hosts rightly points out how deeply inappropriate it feels to take a very serious, life-saving medical prophylactic and tie it to a 90s R&B song about infidelity and sneaking around.
It turns a genuine health initiative into a weird, nostalgic, almost sleazy wink.
It's nostalgia weaponized terribly.
And then you have the endless barrage of ads for Moto Casino.
Ugh, the casinos.
It's a social casino app, heavily pushed by comedian Brad Williams. The hosts are just viscerally exhausted by it.
Everyone was.
They talk about how every podcast they listen to, every sports broadcast they watch, is just wall-to-wall gambling and digital casinos. It completely normalizes digital addiction, but the ad that really broke them, the one that got under their skin the most.
Oh, I know. The Meta commercial.
The Meta commercial. This tech giant puts out an advertisement claiming that, despite being a company built entirely on AI and algorithms, they're actually optimists and dreamers who are betting on people.
Betting on people, right.
The hosts literally give this a 0 rating. They are disgusted. So tell me, When a massive tech company that makes its money mathematically manipulating human attention tries to rebrand as a grassroots optimist.
It's a tough sell.
And when digital gambling is seamlessly integrated into every single entertainment feed, are everyday consumers finally reaching their breaking point with corporate manipulation?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the answer is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
The sheer anger from these radio hosts giving out zeros, expressing literal disgust over an advertisement, signals a severe, deep-seated consumer fatigue.
They're just done with it.
They are done. Brands in 2026 were actively trying to weaponize human connection. They were using 90s music to manufacture unearned trust, and they were using language like betting on people to mask algorithmic data extraction. But they underestimated the audience.
The audience can see the math behind the curtain.
They absolutely can. It raises a fundamental question about institutional trust. When the normalization of digital casinos is piped directly into your ears by your favorite podcast hosts.
Who are leveraging your parasocial relationship with them to sell you a slot machine.
Exactly. People become deeply, fundamentally cynical. They know they are being played, they know the casino always wins, and they know the tech company is betting on their data profile, not their dreams.
Yeah.
The corporate attempt at authenticity ends up feeling more artificial than the CGI in a bad movie.
So what does this all mean? If national politics is a toxic reality show where people read phone numbers at funerals, and corporate advertising is just a deeply cynical psychological grab for our wallets, how are these four guys in Missouri? How is anyone actually coping?
It's a great question.
Where do you find meaning in a landscape that feels that artificial?
And that question leads us to the absolute wholesome core of this radio broadcast.
I love this part.
Because their response to all this macro-level chaos isn't to start a revolution or write angry manifestos. Their response is to focus intensely on the micro level.
They shrink their world down to what they can control.
They introduce the August Quest Challenge.
Yes. At the end of the show, they initiate a personal challenge for the month of August. Each of the four hosts has to draw a random quest from an envelope to complete over the next week before they record the next episode.
I found the rules they set up for this fascinating because they are so grounded in reality.
They really are. They each get 2 vetoes for the entire month if they pull something they genuinely don't have the time or money to do.
Which is smart.
Very. And they have a group consensus rule where they can reject a quest if it's universally deemed too much for a normal guy working a 9-to-5 job.
It's highly structured, but it shows they are trying to make this actually work in their real lives.
Yeah. And the quests themselves are incredibly telling about what they feel is missing from their lives.
These challenges aren't about buying things, and they certainly aren't about engaging with the digital world. They are deeply personal, tactile actions. One quest is simply to talk to a stranger, with a specific note attached that says, "Real life has better characters than your feed."
I love that. Another one is to reconnect with an old friend for absolutely no reason other than to just say hello.
So simple, but so rare now.
Right. One of them draws a quest to sit down and watch a documentary about a subject they know absolutely nothing about, forcing themselves out of their algorithmic echo chamber.
That's requires a profound amount of cognitive friction. Memorizing something requires focus, repetition, and internalizing language, which is the exact opposite of mindlessly scrolling through an endless feed of optimized content.
Yeah, you actually have to use your brain.
To highlight why this is so necessary, look at a satirical news headline they actually read earlier in their own broadcast. The headline joked about an AI secretly hacking an organization, and then the company using a different AI to investigate the AI that did the hacking.
It's an endless, closed loop of artificial nonsense.
Exactly.
It's machines talking to machines.
Yeah.
In a world increasingly dominated by that kind of digital feedback loop, the ultimate act of human rebellion is incredibly simple.
It's just talking to a stranger at the grocery store.
Or calling an old buddy to hear a human voice.
When we synthesize everything we've looked at today, a very clear, practical philosophy emerges from this crumpled grocery list of a source.
Yeah.
The macro world, the national politicians fighting at funerals, the mega corporations pushing digital slot machines disguised as community. That world is chaotic, performative, and entirely untrustworthy. You cannot control it, and engaging with it only drains you.
It really does.
But the micro world, sharing a giant plate of BBQ with your friends, hanging out at a local pub, completing a small, tangible, personal challenge, that is where actual human agency still resides.
It's an actionable way to fight back against the isolation of the modern age. You can't fix the national headlines. You can't stop Meta from harvesting data.
No, you can't.
But you can actively go out of your way to learn something new, or check on someone you care about, or simply force your brain to process something physically real.
It acts as the perfect, accessible antidote to the cynical dystopia they were observing everywhere else in their week. It's taking the power back by shrinking the battlefield.
We've taken quite a journey today through the lens of this local radio show. We watched national politics devolve into bizarre, vindictive theater.
We explored the desperate psychological craving for the physical reality of practical giants in the Odyssey.
And we watched everyday consumers actively fight back against the creeping, cynical manipulation of corporate advertising by simply refusing to buy into the fake optimism.
It serves as a powerful reminder that navigating a world of absolute information overload doesn't mean you have to assign equal weight to every national headline or corporate rebrand.
You really don't.
You don't have to care about the spectacle. Sometimes the most valuable information you can process is simply figuring out how to engage meaningfully with your own immediate community.
Sometimes you just have to ignore the pristine museum exhibit and look at the doodles on the grocery list to figure out what really matters to people.
Absolutely.
Which leaves us with a lingering question for you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. Think about your own routine.
Think hard about it.
If you had an envelope in front of you right now, and you had to draw a random August quest to completely break you out of your daily algorithm, what do you think that quest would be?
What would actually challenge you?
Right. And more importantly, in a world where everything is documented and monetized, would you actually have the courage to do it without ever posting about it online?